Welcome back, everybody, to the playbook here on the Boise Beat. As always, I got my co-host with me, my pops.
Hey, son.
Hey, what's up? Let's uh let's jump right into it because everybody's been talking about it. Obviously, this whole last month, one of our favorite times of year, March Madness, baby.
Oh,
A lot
yeah.
of yeah, a lot of interesting things going on. Everyone's
Yeah.
hyped. I mean, Caitlin
It wasn't
Clark's
just,
really the talk of the town. Caitlin Clark right now. Everybody's talking about her and
oh,
how
man.
great she is. She does not
Yep.
look like she can be beat. She is phenomenal.
Yeah, it's going to take a complete team to beat her. I mean,
Hmm.
not a couple stars, maybe 3 stars. Well, 3 stars for LSU, and
Yeah,
they couldn't beat her. So
yeah. I
that
mean,
was a good game.
yeah. I mean, LSU, defending champions, they beat her last year in the national championship.
Yeah.
Kind of seemed like Caitlin Clark was outmatched by herself, and then LSU even gets better this year. They pick up one of the top players in college. They got Haley Van Lith to
Oh, yeah, they
really,
did it just for her.
yep, yep, to add on to that. And this year, it still wasn't even enough. Caitlin Clark just, she still got the job done, beat him, got her revenge and everything.
I know. Now she's going to the Final Four, and she's going to meet some pretty good teams there. So
Yeah.
that's going to be, you know, who she reminds me of and her
Hmm.
team? Larry Bird's Michigan's
And Indiana State,
Indiana State
I
team.
was thinking the
There's
same
just
thing.
one big star, you
Hmm.
know, and they're going to start triple teaming her and force her to give the ball up.
Hmm.
Yeah, and get the ball out of her hands, but because she's a playmaker, not just a scorer. But she
Hmm.
starts hitting threes. I like Iowa's chances.
Yeah. And I was thinking about her being really like the Larry Bird of last year in a sense, because, she was the only big
Yeah,
star and LSU was stacked like Magic Johnson had the Michigan State team, a bunch of stars
yeah,
on there. She didn't have enough. But this year, it seems like the whole off season and going into this year, she's just gotten so good and has improved so much that even by herself, she can still get the job done. And then I've seen so many
yeah.
times this last game against LSU where she would just find somebody open, whether it's leading in transition and finding people. She's just, you reached a point in basketball where you're the best when you just make everyone around you better. It don't
Yep,
matter who you got, you just have a way of making them better and just finding people. And she
true.
does that.
Yeah, I like it. I like her. She's broke every record there is in the book, scoring record is in the book. All
Hmm.
she's missing is NCAA title,
Yeah. And
NCAA championship.
speaking of Larry Bird, because it kind of reminds me the effect that she has on her team. Larry Bird once said about LeBron James when he was dominating with those Cavs teams, and players would go out in the offseason and they'd get paid, because they'd be a really good team. So they
Yeah,
would think all these guys must be really good. And Larry Bird would come out and say, like, hey, these guys are not as good as he makes them look. He just makes his whole team so much better. And that's just the effect that she has on this team too. Like, even if and that's not no discredit to her teammates because they have played their asses off, but I think that's just the effect that she has to make everybody even that much better.
yeah. Who's she going against her first game?
This one coming up,
Yeah, who's her first game in the Final Four?
she's got UConn.
That's right,
Yeah,
UConn.
and
And
I
who you
love that
going for?
story. I'm
Yeah,
UConn all day, baby. I'll be wearing my UConn shirt next episode because I'm sure by then they'll be national champions.
yeah,
But I
maybe.
love this. I love the storyline of Caitlin Clark versus Paige Buchers because, I mean, before Caitlin Clark, Paige Buchers was the talk of women's basketball. She
Yeah,
was the best player in the league. And then last year she tore her ACL, so people have kind of forgot about her. And Caitlin Clark's taken over. And now she's coming back for her crown. And if she
yeah,
can take this UConn team and beat them, this is going to be a big time story. And it's funny because on the Team USA that they played on a few years ago, Haley Van Lith and Paige Buchers on the team, Caitlin Clark was coming off the bench. That shows not only how much she's improved, but how talented like these teams are.
yeah, yeah. They get some good players, man.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to it.
Who do you got? Do you see anyone beating South Carolina? Who you got, Caitlin Clark or Paige Buchers?
My heart says Yukon, but my brain says Iowa.
Yeah,
I would go
and
Iowa on it, just because they're. I don't know. I just feel like they're the team of destiny, you know.
mhm,
And Yukon, they haven't won anything for 3 or 4 years now. They were the Kings, 8 or 9 in a row, 7 or 8 championships in a row. They were the
yeah,
team to beat, but the rest of basketball's kind of caught up with them.
yeah. South Carolina really has. They've been dominating the last few years.
Yeah.
But I'm gonna go with UConn just for the fact of Paige Buchers. I think she's got some motivation to take that crown back, and I think Gino Auriemma, obviously the best women's coach ever. I just think he's gonna get one more before it's all said and done. I think this might be the best time to
Well,
do it.
I think you could put him in the best coach period, you
Yeah,
know, best coach
absolutely.
conversation period, women or men.
Yep, I would agree with that. The guy is
Yeah.
special. Accomplished a
70
lot over
some
there.
years old already.
Is he really?
Yeah.
I would have never known that.
Yeah. Time catches up to all of us, son. His
It sure
time is
does, huh?
coming, man. Yeah.
Why do you say that like it's so finalized? You know what I mean? Well, I think he's got a little bit more time. I'd like to think, but let's talk men's basketball because UConn in men's also in the Final Four and also been dominating. Do you see anyone beating them?
The only one I can see beating them is Purdue. I mean, anybody that have a chance, I don't really see Purdue beating them, but they would have
Hmm.
a chance with them. That Zach Edey, probably player of the year this year,
Hmm.
and deservedly so. He's
Yeah,
having like in this tournament, he's averaging like 25 points a game, 16, 18 rebounds a game. He's
yeah,
crazy, man. He's having 25, 23 games, you know, 25 points, 23 rebounds, 22 rebounds.
yeah. I think the other
Man,
night he almost had 40,
yeah.
and yeah, I think I'm so tired of people trying to discredit that guy. Like from where he was at the start of his collegiate career to now. I mean, the guy's phenomenal, and it's time to give him his flowers, and like show some
Yeah.
respect for how good he actually is. And it's really cool to see him have the success he's had.
Yeah, it's funny. As good as he is, they're for the draft, they have him going in the late first, early second round. So
Hmm.
maybe this
And
tournament has changed some minds.
yeah, and I think it's time for the NBA to rethink that whole strategy of, oh, let's just draft based off ceilings, because the longer you stay in college, really, the more your stock plummets for
Oh
the
yeah,
NBA. They want guys that are 19 years old entering the draft rather than a guy who's a senior. He's more seasoned. Learned a lot more. They want just based off potential. And
yeah. They're ready to jump right in. And
mhm,
rookies, these freshmen, they're not ready. Most of them
yeah,
aren't ready to start yet. You're kind of like giving them their sophomore and junior year with the pro club, pretty
hmm,
much.
yeah, I, yeah. I'm totally against that whole just going based off potential. I think it's time these guys that have stayed in college for a few years, give them a shot. Because
Oh, they'll
I think
get
of
a
them being
shot,
more
but
seasoned. Yeah,
they'll probably get a shot, of course. Everybody will give them a shot. It's just you get that guaranteed money in the first round.
yeah,
Uh, and you
yeah,
don't have to be fighting for your contracts for the next 4 years.
yeah. And that's what I hate though. It's like they get drafted into such a worse position. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, they're saying they're mocking him to the Celtics at number 30. I kind of like that.
Yeah, yeah. Celtics could use a big man like that, play that
And
Luke Cornett
he can
type
shoot
role.
free throws, so that means there's a chance he can learn how to shoot threes. And he's got a
Yeah,
little mid-range game. He's not just a dunker, or putting it up on the backboard. He can shoot. He's got a little range, about 8 feet, which is more than some centers anymore. Some of those big centers.
yeah. I mean, he's 7'2", right?
Yep.
Yeah, he's a big guy. They're cutting down the nets after they won, and He didn't have to get on the ladder or anything. He just got on his tippy toes.
He was
That's all
just
he did.
showing off.
Yeah, he really
I'd say I
was.
think he might be, isn't he 7'4"?
He
No,
might
maybe
be
7'2". Yeah, because Canet, how tall is he? Not Canet, but the guy from Yukon. They're center.
Klingon,
Kling,
Donovan Klingon.
Klingon. Yeah.
I think he's 7'1", I want to say.
If he's 7'1", then I think Edie's got to be 7'4". Pretty close to that.
Yeah, that would be a real fun matchup. Those guys played
Yeah, that's going to be the
because
matchup of the game, really.
hmm
If Klingman can guard him one-on-one and they don't have to
hmm
double or triple teaming him, that'd be big. That
yeah,
would be
because
really big.
Klingon has been really dominating throughout this tournament, and I think we saw it affect that Illinois team they played. Who Illinois was no pushover going into that game against
No, not
UConn,
at all.
and they just looked disoriented out there. They looked scared to drive the ball in. You know, the way the shot selection you could tell was completely affected by Donovan Klingon's presence, and he was blocking anything that got in there. You know, and UConn has just shown their dominance. Like, I think they're not talked about enough right now in sports media about how good these guys are. I mean,
Oh,
they
I don't know
started off.
about
I know. I think like you would hear any other team like Duke being talked about. You know, one of the greatest college teams ever. You know,
yeah.
programs. But UConn, it's time to put some respect on them. I mean, they started off this second half on a 30-0 run. Are you kidding me? 30-0
No,
run. The
man.
game was over. Like, who does that? You don't see that anywhere at any level.
No,
Like
man. Not
the
in a big game like that. Got
the
two
sheer
really good
dominance.
teams. Because
They
Illinois was a good team. Very good
mhm,
team.
very good team, and they broke the record for covering the spreads in the most like in the consecutive games in March Madness, dating back to last year when they won it and they surprised everybody. I mean, they were blowing out teams then, and they've covered 10 straight games, and that's noting that they've been favored heavily in every single game.
Well, let's make it 11.
I
10
hope
straight
so.
game. Did you say 10 straight?
10
So
straight. It might be 11 after this
make
last
it
one.
11 now because they're only favored by 11 and a half. So
Yeah.
they'll probably
Yeah.
beat them by 30. And who are they playing?
They're
They're
playing
playing
Alabama.
Alabama,
Hmm.
who's never been to the Final Four.
Yeah.
Alabama basketball team's never been to the Final
Hmm.
Four. And the thing that makes them so good is they got a lot of seniors. Their
Hmm.
best player, Ward, is a senior. And three of their best players are seniors. So,
Hmm.
that's experience. And that's what usually wins out in these tournaments. That's why Kentucky can't ever make it out of the first round. They always playing these really talented senior laden teams, and all they have is freshmen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I mean, John Calipari, you feel for the guy because I mean, as much of a history as Kentucky's had, you know, one of the great collegiate programs for college men's basketball, and every year he just gets gutted. I mean, he gets all these top recruits as freshmen, and obviously these guys are entering the draft, and that's what the NBA wants is these 19-year-old guys who are ready to go.
Yeah.
And Calipari has to just deal with what he's got. And of course, he's so cool about it. Like he wants to see these guys go get paid in the NBA, go be successful. So he's not advising them against that. But you know, it's tough to win this kind of tournament with the discipline it takes. You know, you can't do it with a bunch of 19-year-olds. And I think a lot of them are starting to realize this.
Yeah. He gets like four guys every year in the first round.
Yeah.
They don't win anything in college, but I mean, they play good, but they don't win anything in that NCAA tournament. But
Yeah.
they're always good for three or four and
Yeah.
pretty darn good ones, too.
Yeah, the NBA is just full of Kentucky guys and like not just like, you know, role players, like star players. I think like in the last 10 years, I think Devin Booker's the only one who's been to the Final Four with their program. And like think about it, they got Devin Booker, who was a top 5 pick in the NBA. He's one of
Yeah.
the stars of the league. You got Carl Anthony Towns, number 1 pick, star of the league. Anthony Davis, one of the
Yeah.
stars of the league. He was a number
John
1 pick.
Wall.
John Wall. I mean, we're gonna
Yeah.
forget about if we keep naming them. I mean, did Shea Gilgeous-Alexander go to Kentucky?
Um, yeah, I think he did. Yeah.
If he did, oh my
Oh
goodness.
man, they've had some. good
So many.
individual players, but it's
Hmm.
hard to get an all freshman team, get them used to college basketball all at once. And then they all leave, and he starts over with
Hmm.
more of them. He
Yeah,
knows the risk, you know.
yeah, and that's what blows me away about UConn, and the reason I felt so comfortable about them winning this tournament, which is, I mean, last year, I just want to get it out there. I picked them to win it all. No one else did. I
I
did.
think I did too, didn't I?
No, you did not. You did not. No one else did. Okay, I was the only one in the whole world. No, but they were a team that got hot at the right time, and they just dominated. Like they looked like they would have been the best team all year. The way they dominated last year in the tournament, the way they played, they moved the ball and played defense, and then they go into this year, and it's like they had the same team from the tournament but better. They had a mixture of, and this is what I loved about UConn. They had a mixture of like veteran guys, so guys that have been in college a few years. They
Yep.
got a freshman stud. They play defense and they move the ball. Like they're like a well-oiled machine. The way they play as a unit, like they have everything you could ask for out of a college team. They can shoot the three, they can block shots, they can drive in, they can really do it all. They got size, you know what I mean? They got quickness,
Great
and
defense.
they got one of the best coaches in college basketball, Dan Hurley. Who doesn't
Yeah.
love Dan? You know, a lot of
Yeah.
people probably do
Really.
because who he is, but
Well, there's a lot of people who don't love him. A lot of other
yeah,
coaches that don't
yeah,
love him.
he's a fiery
And
guy.
you
I
know
love
what?
him.
He don't care. He doesn't care at
Hmm.
all either.
Yeah,
Love
and
me
that's
or
what
hate me, it doesn't matter.
yeah, he's one of the traditional hard-nosed college basketball coaches that you don't really see no more. But it's refreshing to see that in the league now with the dominant team, see a
Yeah.
coach like that.
Yeah, and
Yeah,
he got his dues last year. Now he's just showing everybody it wasn't a fluke. And
yeah,
oh man, they're playing a North Carolina State team. No, North Carolina State's playing Purdue.
Purdue.
And North
They got
Carolina State is another Cinderella this year. They
yeah,
almost remind me of the UConn team about 5 or 6 years ago that
yeah,
had to win 5 games in a row on the tournament, end of
to
season
even get in.
tournament. That's the only way they were going to get in. They were 16 and 14 before that. They
Yeah,
had to win 5 games in a row in that SEC tournament
hmm
and did it.
and they went through North
ACC
Carolina.
tournament, yeah,
Yeah, they went through North Carolina. They went through Duke,
yeah.
and they beat Duke again in March in the tournament. They beat them in the Elite
I
Eight.
know.
And
So
I might be wrong if this is the incorrect team, but I'm pretty sure that their coach was on the hot seat and wouldn't wasn't was going to be fired. I think going in the tournament if they didn't make it, and like was told before the ACC tournament that if they don't make March Madness, he's probably let go. And then they went on to win 5 straight in 5 days, and then go
yeah,
into the March Madness tournament, and then here they are in the Final Four. I could be wrong, but I'm almost positive that it was a coach of NC State
I think
where
you're
the school
right.
story is from.
So all of a sudden they're 26 and 14 now. They've won 10 in a row, 10 games in a row. Every game was loser out,
Yeah,
and they're still here. And they
they
go
are.
play
And DJ
Purdue.
Burns, DJ
Yeah.
Burns, we got to talk about him.
Oh yeah.
The
This
guy
guy.
is so light on his feet. Like for as big as he is, I want to have to look that up right now. I want to see. He's 275. So he's 6'9", 275 pounds. But the guy moves like he's so agile. He's so good on his feet. He's got touch with the ball. Like it's so fun to see. He's like a Jokic out there. And Jokic was complimenting him the other day, but man,
Yeah.
he's fun to watch.
Yeah. What's he gonna do against Zach Edey though?
Probably foul out.
It's gonna be interesting.
Yeah, I've
Yeah.
heard a lot of complaints about the calls that Purdue gets, so we'll see. But that's going to be a fun matchup, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd love to see UConn and Purdue just because I don't want to see UConn be discredited come national
Yeah.
championship time. It'd
Best
be cool to
against
see
the
them beat a
best.
1 seed. Yeah, because Purdue's a 1 seed. They were top seed all year with UConn. So to see those two mash up, battle of juggernauts, and I think UConn, I just don't see anybody beating them the way they're just blowing everybody out. Like
Yeah, I don't see it either.
I,
Even
I
I would
love
have to
Dan.
pick UConn, but you know what? I hope it's a really, really good game, man. I hope it's
Yeah,
close.
And I just love that Dan Hurley, like, you have no reason for motivation being the number one seed, the favorite all year, and Dan Hurley finds any little thing. Like he'll cry about it in the post game pressers. Like
Yeah.
he's like, they gave us the early slot. We can't get prime time. They don't want us to be on prime time. They're screwing us. And I listened to a podcast the other day where he was just going off about it. Just finding little things. And he laughs about it, obviously now. Looking back, but you know, he,
Yeah.
he's just finding little things to fire up the team. Very superstitious guy. A lot of good stories about that. But Dan Hurley,
Oh,
and
yeah.
we've talked about it in the past, but like he has one of the coolest stories about how he even got here.
Yeah, he came from a famous family, and he's the only one that
Mhm.
really hadn't done anything
Yeah,
special, until he
yeah,
won that national championship. And then he's like, now I can sit at the Thanksgiving table, hold my head high like the rest of them.
yeah. Man, that's one of the cool stories too, because there was a big article that came out on him. I think last year going into the tournament or after they had made a big run, but talking about him coming up and obviously all the high expectations because everybody in his family had been successful up to that point, and he didn't quite turn out as a player, and he was scared to even show his face, always depressed, and you know, a lot of people just had such high expectations on him and he never lived up to it. And then, he finally comes out of his shell and, gets a shot to coach a UConn team with all the history they have. They struggled for a few years, and then he said in a press conference that came out that resurfaced of him when they lost the Big East tournament. And he said, you better get your licks in now because it's not going to be like this next year. Here in a few years, we're going to take over. And sure
Yeah.
enough, since that, I think that was the year before last year when they won the title. And he's just, if you love a good story and you love a guy that can get the best out of his team, I mean, Dan Hurley is your guy. Just a fiery guy. Like you can't help but love him. At least respect
Yeah.
him.
You have to respect him. He's a fiery
Hmm.
guy. Kind of reminds me
Hmm.
of Coach Missoula for some team.
Yeah.
Yeah, they don't take no crap. They don't.
Yeah.
They don't take any crap from anybody.
Yeah.
Players, other coaches.
Hmm.
Yeah.
We're gonna have to do a segment moving forward about like funny press clips from like coaches. That'll have to be a segment moving forward because I mean you got so many cool characters in the league. I mean you got like Joe Mazzulla. He's always like very testy with the people interviewing him post game. And then of course you got the greatest of all time, Popovich, the way he deals with the media,
Yeah.
and man, there'd be so many funny
He's
clips to
he's
go
so
for.
sarcastic, man.
Yeah, he's so funny. But but no, that'd be great. I mean, basketball is in full swing right now. We got March Madness that'll be closing out within the next week. National championship coming up. We're in the Final Four right now, and we are 2 weeks away from playoff NBA basketball. And things are really
Heating
heating
up
up.
in the West.
Yes, it is. Things are getting real interesting over there. Mavs in the middle of a 7-game win streak right now. They're playing the Warriors tonight. Major playoff implications for them. They almost slipped out of the playoff picture. Who
Yeah,
have
the
you been having
Warriors
your
might
eyes
not
on?
make it.
Yeah,
See the Warriors and the Lakers playing each other in that play-in tournament to
that
get
would
in.
be interesting. Curry versus LeBron. The NBA would. They're salivating right now thinking about those ratings.
Oh
They love
yeah.
to sell Curry versus LeBron. Win or go home. I don't know if I
Yeah.
could see them
I'm gonna go home and
making
play
that
another
happen.
game.
Yeah. I don't know if I could see them letting that happen where both those guys don't make the playoffs. There's no way the NBA would let that happen. I think there's just
Yeah.
too much money with those names. They're not going to let them sit at home. They won't.
No. But I don't know. Looks like Denver and Boston,
Hmm.
Boston, nobody, I don't see anybody beating them in the East. Maybe Milwaukee give them a little bit of chance. Give Milwaukee a little bit, but I don't see anybody beating the Celtics. And then the West, anybody could come out of there, Maybe
Hmm.
OKC's growing up faster than we thought, you know.
Maybe. I
That
mean,
would be something to see them go.
Milwaukee has shown flashes where it looks like, oh, they figured it out. And then, doesn't look like it. Like they've been very hot and cold, very inconsistent. I don't know if it'd be smart to really count on them to all of a sudden have it figured out come playoff time. I mean, sometimes it takes a full year to really, get things going with certain players, or even you figure out later on, like, hey, this just might not work. Like, I remember when Kyrie was playing in Boston and they had the stacked team with Gordon Hayward, they had Al Horford, Tatum, and Brown, and then they had Marcus Morris coming off the bench, Terry Rozier,
Rozier,
and
yeah.
yeah, they had such a stacked team, and you're just thinking, there's no way they don't win it. There's no way they don't figure it out. And playoff
Yeah.
time, they
They
swept the
never did
Pacers
figure
first
it
round.
out.
Yeah, they swept the Pacers first round, and you're like, oh, these guys got it. They get to second round against Milwaukee. They beat them game one, and then they lose the
We're
next
jumping
four.
around.
Yeah,
Oh, hey, maybe this team's going to do it.
yeah, they figured it out. They got unselfish all of a
Yeah.
sudden, just like that. It don't happen like that in the NBA, and they ended up losing the next four. And so, like, who knows? Maybe Milwaukee, maybe they don't figure it out, and it might not be figured out till after this year. But I mean, the playoffs will really show all of your weaknesses. They're going to come to the light, and
Yeah.
we're going to see if they're the real deal or not.
It's going to come down to who can play half court and still move that ball and run a little bit. Because usually in playoff basketball, you don't run much. But if you can get out and run, make the other team run with you, I
Hmm.
think the Celtics got a really good chance. Just make another team play a different style than they don't want to. Whoever
Hmm.
can dictate play, fast pace or slow, will probably win these series. And then you got to have talent. And Lord knows both these teams, the Celtics and Milwaukee, got some pretty good talent. So,
Hmm. Yeah, Milwaukee. I mean, they made a lot of good moves.
yeah,
Getting Patrick Beverly.
I just
I
don't
mean, a
see
good
anybody
role
beating the
piece
Celtics in 7 games. I don't see it.
in the
And we
East.
may
Yeah,
and we may have the Miami Heat first round. Who knows?
yeah, and that's the Celtics'
Get rid of
kryptonite
them
the last
early.
few years. So yeah, who
Yeah,
knows if Miami comes out firing, because they're always a different team come playoffs.
they
You
are.
know, but in the West, you know, there's so much going on. You got three teams right now tied for first place. You got the Thunder, Timberwolves, and Nuggets who just keep changing back and forth, taking turns with that one seed. I mean, you got the Clippers who have been pretty tight right there in the 4 seed, but you've had the Mavs slowly catching up to everybody. They've won 7 straight. They went from 2 weeks ago being in the 8 or 9 seed. All of a sudden, they're in the 5 seed, and they're looking for a first round matchup with Paul George and the Clippers.
Yeah, and you know who else has been hot? Houston. They weren't even in the playoff picture, play in, play out, anything. All of a sudden, they win 10 games in a row. And now they might
Yeah.
knock out the Warriors, maybe.
Well, they had won that many games until they faced the Mavs, and the Mavs brought an end to that
Oh,
streak. And now
Mavs
they're,
beat them?
yep, that was the team that beat them. So
Oh,
Rockets have now lost 2 in a row, and now they're 2.5 games back from the Warriors, which also the Warriors and Mavs are playing tonight. So who knows, the implications for the seeding after
yeah.
this. But I
That'll
mean, you
be a
got the
good
Kings.
game.
Yeah, the Kings have dropped to the 8 seed. You got the Suns at the 7 seed and Pelicans at the 6 seed, all within from the 6 seed to the 9 seed, all within 3 games of each other. Like a lot
There's
could
much,
definitely change.
and something like 7 games, 7 or 8 games left to play.
Yeah,
Sticks for some teams.
yeah, and
Yeah, it's
I mean
coming down the wire.
Yeah, Suns at 7 seed. That's so crazy to see them in the play-in. If they got the Suns, Lakers, Warriors all in the play-in,
Oh, maybe
what?
Clippers too, the way they're going.
Yeah, I mean, KD, like all the star power, KD, Booker, Bradley Beal on the Suns, and all the star power from the 3 teams, and you're gonna see them in the play-in, barely making the playoffs. Like, because
Oh,
once they
yeah.
get in the playoffs, you play a team like a young team like the Timberwolves and Thunder, there's a chance. Playoffs experience matters. So it's like things could get real interesting, real interesting. Those playing games are gonna have some very high ratings. It's gonna make for some good high level basketball.
Oh, yeah. It's going to be like NCAA, loser go home. Except I think
Hmm.
they get one more chance. No, loser is the first game of the 10th in the between
And the
the
9 seed.
10th. Yeah, then they'll
Yep.
The loser will go home,
Yep.
but the other guys can still move on.
Hmm.
So
And so with that being real close, I mean, anything can happen right now. I mean, you got the Kings at the 8 seed, and speaking of, I want to mention this. Talking about the Kings, uh, Luka Doncic beat them the other day. The Mavs did, and
uh-huh.
Luka, after he hits a dagger late in the fourth, he looks at the sideline, screaming courtside, and they put the camera on Vlade Divac, the
Bloody Dior.
GM, yeah, of the
Yeah.
Kings, saying basically, "You should have drafted me. You should have drafted me."
Did
And
he take somebody before him?
he did. He had the number 2 pick the year Luka got drafted.
Oh, he had the number 2 pick, and he took that little
You know
guard.
who? No,
Who do you take?
Marvin Bagley from Duke.
Oh, my
Who
lord.
at the time though,
Oh, I
Marvin Bagley
forgot
was
about
good.
that.
Yeah,
Oh, my lord.
and yeah, so he's yelling at Vlade Divac, and the rumor is that Vlade Divac knew Luka because
Yeah.
obviously he's European. All those European basketball players are very close,
Yep.
and apparently the story goes he knew Luka's father and wasn't a fan of him, so he didn't want to draft Luka just because he didn't like his father. That's the rumor. And so Luka, of course, all the greats, they take exception to any little thing,
Oh,
they use
yeah.
it as motivation. And yeah, he was drafted third. The rest is history when the Mavs traded Trey Young for Luka Doncic in that draft.
Oh, man. How can he live with himself for that? He's European. They know all the other European guys.
Hmm.
They
Yep.
keep track of those, and and I don't know how anybody passed on, to tell you the truth.
Well, I remember draft day, the day that draft happened. I remember talking to you about it, and I
Yeah.
told you, I'll remember this for the rest of my life. I tell everybody this. When that draft happened, I said, whoever doesn't draft this Luka kid is going to regret it for the rest of their careers. Because I'd been watching his highlights for years, because the guy had been playing professional ball since he was like 15 years old in Europe,
Mhm.
winning MVP over there at 18. And I thought, this guy is a real deal. Like anybody who doesn't take him, the way he passes the ball, the way he can shoot, like they're going to regret it. And I remember telling you that.
Yep,
And
I remember.
yeah, and the Suns had the first pick. Imagine, because they took DeAndre Ayton, who they don't have anymore.
Yep. We
Imagine
never
if they
fit
would,
with them.
yeah, imagine if they would have had Luca and Devin Booker on the same team. They've had their rivalries already in the past,
Oh,
but
yeah.
if those two together on the same team, they would be the best duo in the league. Like
Or
that,
they
I
kill
always
each
think,
other, one or two.
yeah, but I always think about these things like these teams that passed on Luca. Like some drafts, you can forgive yourself. You know what I mean? Like, sure, it hurts, but
Yeah.
passing up, those are the kind of picks that get guys fired. You
Man,
know?
Mark Cuban, man. What a pickup for him, man.
Yeah, unbelievable. I mean, to have that luck and get a guy like that, generational talent, that's the kind of stuff that gets GMs fired. You miss on a pick like that,
Yep.
your career, you know, you can't miss that one. I thought that one was too obvious.
With
But
Vlade Divac.
what do I know?
Yeah. Vlade Divac is famous for a lot of reasons, or infamous, right? He's the
Hmm.
one that the Lakers traded to Charlotte for Kobe Bryant.
Oh wow, I didn't know that.
Yeah. Yeah, it was him, Vlade Divac, for Kobe Bryant.
Wow, didn't he play for the Kings when they were making those runs in the early 2000s
Yep.
with Mike
Yep. He
Bibby,
was
Chris
part of those
Webber?
really good Kings. Yeah.
Wow, they haven't. And I mean, they got a guy, but imagine they draft Luca, right? The Kings even. Imagine him with De'Aaron Fox and Demontis Sabonis. Wow.
Oh, yeah.
He would fit in so well with those guys right there. Because Sabonis, the way he passes the ball as a big man, like he is so exciting to watch too. I don't think anyone gives him near the respect he deserves for the type of basketball he plays.
Well, they traded him for Halliburton, and
Mhm.
Indianapolis got him, traded him
Yeah,
for Halliburton.
who's
It's
turned out to
worked
be a
out for both
superstar.
teams, but man, you gotta love Halliburton, man.
Yeah, Halliburton's special.
He's
He's shown
special.
it over there.
What they could have kept Halliburton and traded that speedster. What's his name? A really quick guard. Come on,
For Indianapolis.
Sacramento.
Oh,
Sacramento.
De'Aaron Fox.
Yeah, Aaron Fox. They kept
Hmm.
him and traded
Yeah,
Halliburton. Man, what think would have been like him and him with
so
Sacramento instead of
yeah,
keeping him
yeah,
and not
Sabonis
trading
and
him.
yeah,
And
because
him and
Halliburton.
Sabonis, oh my lord.
Yep, because Halliburton is one of the best passers in the league already. I think he averages the most assists the last 2 years, and to have those
Yeah,
two guys the way they move the ball, that would have been fun to watch.
yeah,
Yeah, so the Kings, after I think being in the 3 seed last year in the playoffs and being there for most of this year, they have fallen to the 8 seed, 8.5 games back of first, half a game behind the Suns at the 7 seed, only a game ahead of the Lakers, who have won 2 in a row. Warriors have won 4 in a row.
yeah. They
And
win
as of,
four and then they lose three. Win four,
yeah,
lose two or three.
and
Yeah,
actually, as of right now, they're up by 6 on the Mavs with almost 7 minutes to go. So that's a very important game right there. That's gonna have
yeah.
some implications for sure. But I mean, there's nothing really too crazy that's been going on. Obviously, no updates with the Otani situation. I'm sure something will be coming with that. That's not over yet, as you said.
That, that's not going anywhere.
Yeah, but no updates there. I mean, baseball has just started, so we'll get into some baseball here soon too. But I mean, it's tough right now with NBA playoffs and March Madness. So I don't know how much of that we'll get to, but
No, a couple of weeks it'll be playoff time.
yeah, and it's gonna get real fun. It's gonna be a fun
Yeah,
playoffs. But yeah, with that being said, there's gonna be some good games. We're gonna be talking about them next week. Yeah, a lot of great stuff to talk about. We'll finish up covering the national championship for college basketball. We'll see if UConn can be beat. But other than that, thank you for coming on as always, Pops.
you're welcome, son.
We'll see you next week.